You found us.
Welcome to Emergency Protocol, a podcast for people who are stressy and depressy.
We are your hosts,
Denise
and Jackie Freed. That's my mama.
And that's my baby.
We are sharing our 12 steps reimagined for today's society.
And our bumpy, pothole-ridden spiritual paths.
And we're bringing you along for the ride.
This is us doing the actual work.
When the shit hits the fan, you know it's time for
Emergency Protocol.
undergrad.
I think everybody has a
career.
rough thing, but rough,
Yeah.
just the pileup of work that's due at the end of a 4-year accumulation is
and
a
every
lot.
semester. Yeah.
And then to the graduation and then all the family coming in. And I
Mhm.
think it actually, in a weird way, it was probably good for her to just decompress
down,
and be
yeah.
forced to do nothing, because she really hasn't had a time in the last 4 years where there was nothing to do
Right.
and nowhere to go
Right.
and no one to see. Like, all her friends were gone except for the last day.
Mhm.
So she had to decompress. No choice. And I had to decompress, no choice. But it wasn't really decompress. It was just like be sick, right? So
Yeah.
that wasn't, and she was sick too, but she got well before I did. And she
Yeah.
tested negative the whole time. So
Go figure.
I don't know.
Yeah. It is sad. I mean, I know Christmas will come around again, right? But like also Grandma Marfori's old,
Yeah.
right? My great grandma, her grandma,
Yeah. She's 96.
is getting up there.
She's going to be 97 on the 11th of
Bonkers.
January.
She's so funny too, and she's like got less filter. As
Way
the
less
years
filter.
go
So
by.
it's fucking hilarious
Yeah.
listening to grandmas when they're like filters
Yeah.
off. Yeah.
She did seem. I mean, I did have a conversation with her. I think it must have been Thanksgiving, where we were just talking about her health and stuff and how
Mhm.
she's feeling, and I asked her if she was scared, right?
Mhm.
Like, is she scared of dying? And she like kind of teared up a little bit and like she seemed a little sad, which is crazy because this woman had a life,
Yes.
right? Her life was really big for so many years, and it's been really small for as long as I've known her.
Mhm.
But she had a really big life, and so that's kind of giving me perspective too.
Yeah. Well, and yeah, I think because she traveled so much with
Yeah.
my grandpa during the war that she didn't want to leave
Like
the house ever
4
again.
international moves. Yeah.
Right.
That's enough with
exactly.
4 kids.
But yeah,
Jeez.
a lot. And I think too, it's kind of, I mean, when I'm sitting with her
Mm-hmm.
now, I put on a voice memo. And so while she's
Mm.
talking, I'm recording the
That's
stories
sweet.
that she's saying, because you don't know, she's in that place of age where you remember stuff from long ago
Yeah.
way better than you can remember what happened last week. And
Yeah.
so she's telling all the stories from days of old. And so it's, it's good to hear that, what it was like for her to grow up and,
Yeah.
without her mom dying early and being raised by her sisters. And just, it's a very, it was a different time when people,
Mhm.
and it was definitely some families had a lot of kids. Like my
Yeah.
grandma, I think she was number 12,
Yeah.
and that's it's a lot. So
lot.
anyway, not here to talk about grandma's story, but it's definitely, we're noticing the time passing, and she's our last great grandma.
She's the last great grandma.
So when Jackie was born, she had nine grandparents.
3 great grandparents.
Yes.
And then both bio grandparents got divorced and both bio grandmas remarried.
Yeah.
So we had an extra grandpa on both sides too.
Yes.
Yeah. That's not counting all of the married and divorced grandmas and grandpas we lost along the way. Pour one out for those guys too. 'Cause
Right.
everybody had a few of those too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of that. And yeah, so here we are, 2023, end of the year. It was a rough year. It was a good year, but it was challenging. And it was like, it was one of those years where you feel like right now we're having giant waves in California. And I feel like it was that kind of year where it is kind of the metaphor for the year, was like giant wave, survive the wave, swim your ass off, get to safety. Another wave comes, and you're kind of like, okay, well, that wave's over. We're good now. We can rebuild. No, another wave's coming, and it's going to wipe out all of the construction you just did. And you know what I mean? And so it just felt like one of those things where you're just treading water and going to just go with what it is. Like just swim parallel to shore and don't get sucked out to sea is like the thing. It's like no riptides, right?
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what 2023 feels like for me, was like, just keep swimming and try not to get sucked out to sea. And you might not swim to safety, but you might not drown as well, right? So we didn't drown. We're still here. And we're still doing this. And we're getting closer on the studio.
The studio has doors and it has paint and
it has
it's
a new
got
roof.
a roof and stucco.
And yeah, plumbing for a bathroom and a little kitchenette.
Yeah.
And
This
tile.
is going to get zhuzhed. We're ready for our 2024
yes,
glow
we're
up.
going to make a nice, cozy spot for us to do this in where we don't have to kick everybody out of the house and make the dog be quiet. It's going to be great. So, yeah, that's where we are.
Right.
And so I think in talking through like how these steps apply to all of that is like last week, it's such a part of my life that I don't really battle with it like I used to, but the powerlessness over my body and what it's going to do, right? Like I just let it go and surrendered to coronavirus. Like it's going to be what it's going to be. There's nothing I can do about it other than I can take the Paxlovid and I can kind of drink my tea and, you know, take my Mucinex and do all the things and zero control over when I'm gonna test negative or positive or if I get to go out today or if I don't get to go out today. And so it's just like, all right. And I think the pandemic probably helped that a little bit because I was so forced. We were also forced to be isolated.
Yeah.
I think if I hadn't experienced that and then just had to be in my bedroom for like 10 days, that would have been insane.
Yeah.
So, because I'm a person who does a lot of things, as Jackie has noted before, that I pack every single spare opening with things. Although I'm not as bad as I used to be.
You just like to
doing
enjoy
things.
Life. Yeah, you like to see what's out there. You go to museums and new restaurants, and
that's what I miss most about this, actually. Not even Christmas. It was that we didn't get to go to the tea room at the Huntington Gardens.
Yeah, that was a blow.
We made a reservation. I was like, I made it like a couple months out. I'm like, oh, we'll have Christmas tea at the Huntington Gardens and walk around the garden.
And we love the Huntington. It's
and
like
it's
a happy
tea
place for our family.
Tea is a Christmas thing
it
we
feels
do.
Special. Yeah, we do usually do at least one tea. A year.
And I was hoping with the new tea house, they'd probably have gluten-free options for everybody. And so it would have been, anyway, now I feel like if we go without Liv, I'll be cheating on her. So it's kind of like, okay, maybe she has to come back and we go to tea and figure that out.
But
anyway.
Tea during wintertime is so cozy too.
Yes.
Like, I don't want to do tea in the summer.
It's too hot. But we'll do it.
We'll do it. We'll do it if we have to. Or we just wait for next year, right?
Yeah.
I just keep like thinking like, oh, so much can change in a year.
Yes. And so much will change in a year. And that's what happens every year. Like change is always going to happen. But we're going to just do what we can with where we are.
Yeah.
I think
maybe that's probably why I'm feeling a little itchy.
Yes. So
I'm
now we're
change.
This is where we're gonna pivot. So the reason Jackie's a little twitchy in like what is the next big move for her, and the choices are very
all over the place.
They're kind of a big range.
Yeah.
And so my question the other day when you stopped me and said, oh, we need to record this is I was like, what is the driver or impetus for you feeling you need to do something so big right now? Like such a big kind of change. And you can talk about what you're thinking about and all that because that's your story to tell.
Sure. Well, I've been working in a day job that's very local, which is great. One of the reasons that I took that job is because it's like literally halfway between my place and your place, right? So I get to drop the dog off with grandma and grandpa in the morning and then go to work and then come back and sometimes we have dinner or whatever. And it's a neighborhood I grew up in. It's something that I felt really passionate about, especially when I first started. And I still feel passionate about it. And I'm also like, this is not my current role is not the end game. It doesn't feel like that's where I'm meant to be for like the rest of my life, right?
Well, you knew that going in.
I knew that going in. It was meant to be. I was going to give it like a year and then I was like, no, I'll give it 2 years, right? And just kind of like see it through, right? And like really give it time to grow and settle and see like what happens. Because again, a lot can happen in a year. And I was also feeling like my life before that was pretty small. Working in real estate, even with our team, it's a pretty like lone wolf industry. You're by yourself a lot of the time. And my natural instinct is to just be at home, right? Like I don't like to make plans. I'm not somebody who gets super fueled up by being out and around people all the time. And so I was feeling...
you do, because you're in this job where you're around people all the time, and you do come back with more energy than I think you go in with.
Right. Which is interesting.
Yeah.
But it's a very specific kind of interaction. Yes. And also I don't have to like drive all around town to do
Well, and I also think just in the type of work, the real estate thing is a very uncertain thing. You have to work for long periods without getting paid and no certainty of getting paid. Even when you have a client that you're showing property to, there's no...
Even with the listing.
There's no, guarantee that it's going to close escrow and we don't get paid until it closes, right? So you can work months with somebody or even a year with somebody, and then they go into an open house and buy it with somebody else, or some sort... There's all kinds of things that can happen.
Yeah.
So I think part of the
emotional
the job of
that.
having a steady, like, 9 to 5 did do something for your nervous system and kind of calmed you down, right?
And some people are better at treating their real estate business like a 9 to 5 than I am. Right? Like I was not very disciplined about that, especially after... I think I was pre-pandemic, and then when the pandemic hit, I just kind of like melted, right?
Yeah. I think a lot of people did.
Yeah.
Which is why we've been really pushing people to come back into the office.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, our office in particular has a really nice culture too.
Yeah.
So
I think it's too, I mean, for me, when I was starting out and I had left, I was working for two ladies, and I went out on my own and I didn't know what I was going to do. And all I remember them was saying, like, get dressed for work and go to the office and start working. And so for me, the action of like putting on the clothes and going to the office, even though now I'm working for myself and there's literally no job description and nothing to do that day, forced me to find things to do that would move the needle forward. So part of, I think, the struggle that people have in this industry is that they don't have that sense of responsibility to show up the way they would if they were working for somebody else. And so I often ask people, if you were hiring you for this job, would you hire you? Right? And then like, it forces people to think about, like, how are they showing up in that role?
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm sorry to segue off of that, but I think I wanted to put in some context around the structure of the different types of work. One is like retail oriented, and one is very much entrepreneurial oriented.
One has like a checklist that was made for me that I go through every day.
Right.
And then there's also like specific tasks that I have to accomplish and things that are very obvious that are not just me making myself vulnerable and like calling somebody and potentially being rejected. Right. Which is really like the big thing for me. I've noticed I have a huge fear of rejection. Yeah. So anyways, so we're at this point where I don't fully feel drawn to either of my current roles, right? Because I am still doing real estate for like friends and family, basically, and helping the team if and when I can. But I'm like, okay, what is next, right? And most of my friends from college have been partnered for like 5+ years. All of my close friends have been with their partners for a long time. I haven't found a like committed long-term partner, and that's something that I want. And not in a desperate way, but I think I would enjoy it. And I've noticed that I think I'm a better version of myself when I'm in a relationship. And then my adult friends that I've made, which I had to work really hard to make.
Yes.
Have mostly moved away, have left Los Angeles, and they were already married, and now they're all having their like first and second babies. Right. So there's this little bit of like, at first, when I was in real estate, I was making all this money so then I could travel and do more stuff. I had more flexibility, but also I was mentally like very fragile because of that, right? Because of the uncertainty of the business. But I felt ahead of my friends in terms of like earnings and, you know, that kind of stuff, right? And I've hit some big milestones, right? Like I have a property that I'm maintaining and whatever. So that's big. I should give myself credit for that. But that wasn't also without help too. And so now I'm just like, okay, like if I end up also wanting to have a family, like, regardless of how badly I desire that in this moment, there is like a biological factor and a timing factor that I need to take into consideration.
Well, aren't most of your friends older than you? The ones that are having babies?
Yeah, but all of them, they've all been with their partners for like many, many years too. It's not like, I know very few people who like met their partner and within 2 years had their baby.
Right.
It's pretty rare. So the examples that I have in front of me right now are all seeming like, oh, you have to build several years together before you reach that point. And maybe that's true, maybe that's not. I think at this point, though, like I've also seen so many friends go through like fertility struggles and stuff like that I've kind of realized it's not really up to me, even though I think I would make a really good mom and I enjoy interacting with kids and that kind of stuff. It's not really up to me, and I would rather have a committed partner and prioritize that over finding someone to make a family with.
Well, would it give you more comfort and stability in your groundedness if you froze your eggs? I know that there's a lot of young women that I talk to that feel better once they've done that. They feel
like a safety blanket.
Yeah.
I've thought about it, but again, it's like very expensive. I'm making, not great money right now.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm being paid very well for an hourly position. And in Los Angeles, that's not taking me very far.
Right.
Like, I don't have any savings. I don't really have, I'm in like a more financially vulnerable place than I've been in a while too.
Yeah.
So yeah, I could look into that. I know friends who have done that, and I'm sure I could get a lot of wisdom from them around the process. That would probably ease some of this. So I'm considering applying for this like kind of tour guide position. And I would love to do that if I could work in Europe and travel. And that's, again, it's a really specific position with a really specific company, kind of like what I'm in now. And also I'm thinking about going to school to become a therapist, either like an LMFT, LCSW, figuring out what that looks like, what programs are available. And I don't really I feel like there's still so much self-doubt. Like, my academic record in undergrad was so terrible. And I think like, I can explain it via like I had a mental health crisis basically. Right. But I think that there's still doubt in like whether I would be accepted into a school and whether or not I have like the fortitude to finish it out and be successful. Right. And also like if I did want to study, if I went to grad school abroad, how would that factor into here? Like, would it transfer? Do I have to work abroad? There's just like lots of variables. So I'm deep in that. I think they call it a Saturn return when you're like in your 30s and you hit this like,
what do I do with my life
right now? Like quarter life crisis, we'll call it, since grandma's 96.
There you go. Yeah, right.
Third life crisis.
Yeah.
And then there's this, right? There's like, what does the future of this project look like if I'm not here physically, right? Do we just like record virtually or whatever? Because this is also something that I'm invested in. There's just no clear path of like how this is going to move forward, even though we know that there is a path. We just don't know what that path looks like.
Yeah.
Right? Is that the feeling that you have?
It is the feeling I have, but there's also a sense of, I feel like the shift is going to be when we get into this space and then we have a space to actually meet with other people. And literally right before we started recording, I got a call from a friend who is working with people on very specific issues. And she asked if she could get a copy of our 12 Steps for Everyone because she likes the language better for people who are maybe have been exposed to different 12 steps. They have a family member who's sober or something, but there's a resistance to the language and the wording and the, that there's just like, oh, I don't want any part of that.
Yeah.
So she asked me for a copy of that. And so I think that there is, and in talking to my therapist, it's like, there is a need for what we're doing. Yeah. We just haven't figured out yet how to let people know where to find us, which is one of the things that we're working on. And that's also very challenging for you and I because we're not self-promoters naturally.
No. And we don't have like the skill set for it. To be fair, like I think most people who are like podcasters, influencers, content creators don't just innately have the skill set or like parlay their skills into this work. There's a lot of learning that happens. So we're just like kind of on that journey.
Yeah.
Even with this situation.
With our lights and
it doesn't even
my
record
breakfast
properly. Yeah.
Where half the time she's like, oh shit, we lost the last 5 minutes when we got to the meat of the subject.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, it is challenging, but we're doing it. And I think there's a lot of people coming out of COVID questioning their lives.
We're still mid-COVID. I think that's what's fucking people up. Is a lot of people are realizing like we're still in it
when there's not a bunch of people that are under respirators like it was, right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't feel as dire.
Yeah.
Which
but
is
people
also
are still dying.
People are still dying of COVID. So it doesn't feel like if I had gotten COVID in 2020 where I would have been terrified.
Yeah.
Especially with asthma.
Oh, I'm terrified.
Yeah.
Because we don't know what the long-term repercussions are. So it's also triggering my like anxiety. And
that's so interesting. So this is the thing. Like, and this is where two different times you've brought up, well, we don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Guess what? You never know what's going to happen.
I know. And the universal mother's taking care of me. I know.
We'll never know what's going to happen. And I think that is the rub that we're talking about here. It's like you can go down that road and just take the highway into, you know, the absurdity of trying to figure out what's coming around the corner.
Yeah.
Or you can just keep driving, and when you get to the corner, you can kind of go, oh, okay, there's a stop up there, right?
Yeah.
And just stop when it's time to stop or whatever. It's only because I've been through it, but it's like I've worried so much of my life about shit that never happened and was never going to happen.
Right.
And why spend this here time over there in some place that's never going to exist?
Yeah.
It doesn't, no, that behavior, which I definitely identify with.
Yeah.
Doesn't serve me anymore. So it's like, whatever. Like, and again, with this, it's like, okay, I got COVID. I'm going to be in my room. I'm really lucky that I'm in a house with people who are bringing me shit, and that we live in a time where there's Postmates and there's delivery services that can bring, and we live in a place that can bring them.
Yeah.
My dad sent a video of this young woman who was dug out basically a home in the mud in the jungle somewhere using like earth and bamboo and whatever. And this young woman with a machete basically built herself a little house with a fireplace and whatever. And I was like, I could do that. Do you think Postmates delivers there? And it's like, you know, there are so many different ways that people are living on this earth, right? Yeah. And that's also part of it too. I think, you know, we went away this summer and you got to see how people live in a different country that's not a place that we've ever been to. Like, and so traveling into these places where
even going to Honolulu for an extended period of time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Is like kind of the same thing. It's like, oh, like this whole different life is possible.
Yes.
Right?
All kinds of lives are possible.
I know.
That's what's so fun, but also what's like daunting, because it's like then, and I get, because I still do it. It's like, okay, if there's so many different ways to live. Am I living the way I'm supposed to live? And somebody asked me, what is my biggest fear in life? My biggest fear in life is that I'm not living the life I'm meant to live. Right. And so the closest thing that I can find to living the life that I was meant to live is doing this and getting this work out to people who need help. And I have the resources and I have the experience and I have people who've all lived through this and are living through it with the ups and downs of all the curveballs of life.
Yeah.
And it's still like, am I in this little beautiful, idyllic Copenhagen apartment overlooking the water and going to the Christmas market? No, but would I be going to the Christmas market every day and walking in the snow? Fuck no, I wouldn't be doing that. I want to be cozy in my little room. And also, where am I going to put all that shit when you live in 400 square feet.
Yeah.
Like, where does that Christmas market stuff go? Like, I don't know. You know, for me, I think my optimism and my desire is tempered by the fact that I know for a fact that no matter where I go, there I am, and no circumstance around me is going to change what is bothering me on the inside. The inside stuff is inside stuff that I have to work on inside.
Yeah.
Not out there. Yes, it's nicer. I would imagine it's nicer to be and easier to be peaceful when I'm in Bali, sitting under a coconut tree meditating, right? After doing yoga all day, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure that's fucking great. But is that also the life I want to live? Probably not for me. It's nice for vacation, but I'm a more driven.
Yeah.
I like the challenge of things. And so I know
you like having multiple inputs.
That even in Bali or Maui, or we'll call it any tropical place that I would go to, I would bring my
bullshit.
Well, just not, I don't even want to call it bullshit. I just want to, I'm going to bring me with me. So it's like, okay, I'm going to be in Bali and I'm going to be like, okay, how can I still do this? How can I do this on the level that I like to do things here, right? So it's just the removing me of LA out of LA is not going to remove me from the desire to do things the way I like to do them, and the way that I do my life, which is busy and active and a lot of people and a lot of problem solving and big challenges and scary things that a lot of people don't want to take on. I don't know, you know, it doesn't, and I think you're the same way in a lot of ways. It's just why you're thinking about these very big kind of things.
Changes.
Right?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, whether we make the change and you're still thinking about what's going to happen a year from now, you could be sitting in Costa Rica thinking that just as easily as you could in Copenhagen, just as easily as you could in LA.
I know the thought that I just had right now as I took that sip. I'm like, oh man, I really should stop using straws because it's going to give me limp wrinkles.
Okay, so I think,
and then I'm going to be an ugly old alone crow. Like it just, you know, like that's how my dominoes tend to fall, and I'm still just like,
okay. So now since this is the crux of it, right? You're in it, and this is where the dominoes are. The dominoes are here, ready to fall. And you're going down this road of life is not satisfying you in a couple of different ways here.
Yes.
So knowing that, what steps could be applied to the situation that would help you take an action that would move you toward the life you want to live?
Right. Well, I still need to finish my taxes. That's a big one.
So financial amends. And I probably need to start dating again. Part of me is also like, oh, like if I make my world bigger by taking a travel job, then I'll have a better chance of meeting somebody, which I literally will, because I will be out in the world physically meeting a lot more people. Or you need to just swipe and go, okay, I'll meet you. And it might not be great. It might just be like, I need to have like 20 shit dates. Just for the practice of going on a date. And also for measurement when somebody interesting comes and sits across from you, like, oh, this one's different than those other 19. Because right now. Right?
Or also just making my world bigger, like going more places when I can go places and not just staying home too.
Right.
And also keeping my energy open. To that.
So I think this is Mom talking. I think I agree with you that you are a more grounded and happier person when you are in a relationship. I think it does tether you in a very
something to my brain.
It does something to your to all of it where you're feeling more grounded, and I think that's true for many people. That's why people are in relationships. And I think that yes, you need to just you need to be out there more. You need to be like going on dates and not be afraid to just go meet somebody for coffee or to have a bad date. like, it's going to be a bad date. Like, sitting down. Or maybe it's like, I mean, for me now, I equate it to like when I'm hiring somebody, I no longer just invite somebody in for an interview. I want to talk to them first because I can eliminate a lot of bullshit. I don't want to have 30 minutes dedicated to sitting with you.
Yeah.
When I already talked to you and I'm like, this is never, ever going to work out.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
So like for me, it's like, I'll edit out, like maybe you swipe, then maybe you text, and then maybe you agree to have a 10-minute conversation. And then if all that works out, we'll go meet for coffee somewhere. Right. Like it doesn't have to be like all in.
Yeah. That's also part of my learning too, right? Is like, that's been my history. It's like, if I meet somebody and we connect, then it's like a relationship. Like that train starts.
It's not
that we're
dating.
like moving in together. No, that's dating, but it's just like, there's a lot of that. And I think I've gotten better at pacing myself.
Yeah. I keep telling her she needs to go to join this run club that's on Abbot Kinney.
I'm not in good enough shape for the run club. They run like 4 miles. They don't. There's no like easy path. There's no easy.
Just
easy
start
run.
running.
Yeah.
You would run farther if there was something to run toward. Somehow you would find the stamina. I predict, and I only say this because one of the women that I sponsor we're eating in this restaurant across from their run club shop. They have a little house next to the store, and it was a Saturday morning, and all of these people were running to this place where they gather after the run. And we're sitting there eating pastries and eggs. And I was like, we should book a window seat here every Saturday and just watch this, because it is a view to be seen.
Yeah, that's intimidating as fuck to show up to a bunch of hot people running.
I don't think this is also your problem.
I
think you don't think you're hot.
That's true.
Yeah. So that's also something. I think you're hot.
All right, Linnell, we have so much to talk about. Linnell's my therapist. We have so much to talk about next week.
Can she have 2 hours, Linnell? Yeah. Can we have 2 hours? With a 50 minutes isn't going to do it.
No.
Yeah, I think you're hot.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You're biased, but
actually you're beautiful though.
Thanks,
and funny and smart. And driven, and
I do think I have a lot to offer.
You do.
I just think that I'm like a 6 by LA standards. Like LA people are hot.
But you would hot is a different. Not everybody's looking for the Instagram model.
True.
That's not always somebody's idea of where they're settling down with.
Right.
That might be a fun play thing, but not a committed thing.
Fair.
Right. And so everybody, I think it would be easier if you actually looked and not just paid attention to what's on screen, but when you're out in the world and look at the couples that are sitting around
I do that all the time. And I'm like, really?
Yeah, there's someone for everyone. And there's also like, yeah, really. I was like, really?
I know.
That married that? Like, what?
Yeah.
And so I think, and I'm not saying that the levels of hotness have to match, or that there's like, oh my God, I'm not, it's when you find that person who does that thing for you, it doesn't matter if they're hot or not. They do that thing for you. Right? And all the other shit goes away because there's this weird connection that happens between people when it connects.
Yeah.
And all of the other stuff.
Oh, I'm definitely also like hung up on a past connection like that for sure.
Yeah.
Which is really embarrassing to admit.
Okay. Linnell, 50 minutes times 2.
Yeah.
100 minutes, please. Please,
15.
Linnell, please. Alms for the poor.
100 minutes. As many minutes as you can spare.
So, I mean, there is a reason why there's a fairy tale where you have to kiss 100 toads to find the prince, right? You just got to kiss some toads.
I've done some toad kissing, though.
Not barely kissed any toads.
Not recently, but I have.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody's got COVID. This is it. It just keeps going.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah. So
All right, I'll get COVID.
This is the thing.
Find my soulmate.
You, despite what the head is telling you, and this is true for me overcoming addiction.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be true for you overcoming this thinking.
Yeah.
Is that you can say, okay, thank you for sharing that. Like my head is saying, go smoke some weed because this doesn't feel good and you need to check out. Thank you for sharing. I am not going to do that. I'm going to go to a meeting, even though I don't feel like going to a meeting. You could even go to meetings.
I could.
Now that you're in,
yeah.
Now that you're working 12 steps, you can go to any open meeting. Some you can't share at, but you can go to them, and you'll relate. I mean, people relate because we're just talking about being human. Yeah. And how hard it is to just get through the day sometimes. Yeah. So more to be revealed, but I think that the key is not going to be thinking your way out of it. It's going to require action. Yeah. To get out of the thinking that is plaguing you right now. And the universal mother. Universal mother. Wherever she's not been.
Kim Krantz is our universal mother too.
Oh yeah, Kim
We'll
Krantz.
talk about that in our next episode. Our card pull.
Our archetype book. Yeah. She's no, we're not being sponsored by that. No sponsorship, but we do really love this artist, girls. And I'm going to call her a mystic on some level because she divines these cards that are pretty cool. And so we just pulled our little cards for the archetypes for the year. Yeah. Which is always fun because we can get a little woo-woo because we are in Southern California.
We love a little woo, especially at the new year.
Yeah. 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 Usually we'd go for a sound bath on New Year's Eve. Yeah. But COVID. Yeah. No breathing in a communal room.
No breath work till midnight. Alrighty, drink some water. This was a gift from my grandpa. He doesn't even know I need to increase my hydration. And look, it just appeared. So me and my lip wrinkles are going to
cheers.
This.
You guys are miracles. Thank you for listening. Thank you for finding us. We hope this helps you because it's helping us.
It's helping us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And 2024 is going to be an awesome year.
No, we're not doing that.
Yes.
We're not. No.
Yes. I am positively saying it's going to be an awesome year. And I'm not going to be disappointed because it will be awesome. It will be challenging. It will be hard. That's not going to go our way.
A fucking fun, good, easy year. What happened to those?
What fantasy world has that ever happened? Name one fun, easy year. Just one.
Yeah. All right. Fine.
It doesn't exist. But we can make it fun. We can adjust our attitudes towards what happens in life, right? Like shit can happen, and I can be sucked into the vortex of negativity and bullshit, or I can say, guess what? I'm still alive, and I still have choices in life, and I'm still going to show up the way I want to show up, and I'm going to still do fun things because I want to live a fun life. Which is probably why I pack so much shit into it, because I feel like I missed so much of the younger fun stuff in like high school and when I was supposed to be a kid and I was smoking weed and drinking and turning an alcoholic.
Yeah, because it wasn't that many years, but they were formative years.
10 to 20.
I guess that's a lot of years.
10 years old.
Yeah.
To 20 years old. Still a child by any measure. And so I think I pack a lot of fun in because I was irresponsible and I didn't pack a lot of, I thought I was having fun, but really I was just drinking and partying and having stupid
other stuff too, though. Like you played sports and
I didn't really know how to play sports with people.
Credit where it's due, though. Like you weren't entirely like breakfast clubbing it.
Not entirely, but very close to only breakfast clubbing it. So, have I had a lot of fun in 37 years? Yes. Yeah. And it did require like decorating a convention to go do that thing or creating a sober dance because nobody else was doing it. And I wanted to dance in a sober place meant I had to create a sober dance, which I did. Right. And so I did a lot, or a sober ski trip where I'd pack 40 people in a van and we'd go. Yes. Yeah, so it's like, again, no one's coming to save me. If I want to have fun and the fun's not where I can sign up for it, which we actually do have a lot of ways to sign up for fun now. then I can go create my own fun, or I can just sign up for the fun that's already being created by somebody else.
Yeah.
And so that's why I do that. It's like, oh, that little circus with all the artists that we're going to go to in a few weeks, or whatever it is that, you know, we keep sending each other stuff, something at LACMA that's happening, something like there's things that we live in a place where there's lots of opportunities to experience different things. And those things do change us. Art changes us. Art exposes us to different ways of thinking and different ways of being. And so, like, you know, we are very open to that. Not everybody has that opportunity. But I'm thinking about that poor girl with her bamboo smokestack, like in the middle of nowhere. But she has her life.
She also filmed it too. So
somebody filmed it. Yeah, and she's cutting everything with her machete, and she's got her bare feet. I'm like, I would have chopped my toes off, like you know. So I don't have to do that, and I don't want to do that, and I could go do that if that was calling me, but that's not what's calling me. What's calling me is doing this work. I need to do some stuff around here that we can actually hand people pieces of paper that they can help other people with, or that they could read when they're not listening. There's lots of work to do. And so it's a matter of now, okay, how am I going to make this space and not leave do my job in the best way that I can at work for, you know, what I do there and leave some space for me to do what is really important to me over here.
Yeah.
And so that's going to be my challenge next year. And it's not all going to be fun, but I'm going to make it fun because I want to have fun.
Amen.
And I'm going to have fun with you. And so you're going to get fun by default.
Great.
It's not going to be easy. I'm not delusional enough to think that it's going to be easy.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard, but it's going to be fun. Right?
Yeah.
Anyway, drink some water. You're a fucking miracle. You're a miracle.
You're a miracle.
I love you so much.
I love you too, Mudgy. Glad to be back in
the saddle.
Apparently I'm about to be in quite a few saddles.
Yeah. Hey.
Woof.
I did tell her the best way to get over someone is to get under someone. I don't know that every mom tells their daughters to do that, but that's what I told my daughter
I don't think they do. And everybody's got COVID right now. All right, we're done. We're done.
Bye.
We want to hear from you.
Find us on Instagram and TikTok at 12 Steps for Everyone. That's at the number 12 Steps for Everyone.
Please like and follow us. You can also send us topics you want us to dig into or follow-up questions from each episode.
And if you know someone who would enjoy or benefit from our conversations, please feel free to share this with them. All are welcome here.